I came to family for Christmas. My seat at the table had been given to my sister's new boyfriend. My mom said, "We're kinda just doing immediate family this year." I smiled and got back in the car. 30 minutes later, my cousin texted on the family chat. Thank God the downer left. I opened my banking app, closed the credit line, canceled the birthday caterer's final payment. At 10:11 a.m., the group chat exploded with desperate messages. Don't ignore us! My spot at the table was gone. That's not some metaphor. It was actually gone. I walked into the house on Christmas morning after a 4-hour drive from Boston. I was hauling a bag of wrapped gifts, a bottle of wine, and a pie I didn't bake but paid $40 for at a bakery in Back Bay because my mom likes to say I never contribute anything. Homemade. The driveway was full, so I parked on the street and walked in expecting the usual chaos. Kids running, someone burning bacon, my dad pretending he remembered my job title. Instead, I got silence. Not quiet. That loaded silence where people know something you don't. Like I was early for a meeting that had already happened. Then I saw the dining table. 6 seats. Name cards. And where my name should have been? Nothing. Just a coat, black, expensive looking, draped over the chair like someone already owned it. My sister's new boyfriend. I'd never seen his face before, but I'd heard about him. Real estate, motivational podcast, teeth too white to be real. There he was, laughing with my dad like they'd been golfing together for years. Before I could say anything, my mom walked in from the kitchen, saw me standing there, and said, "This year we're only having our closest family members." She didn't even blink when she said it. Like I was a neighbor who dropped by uninvited. I stared at her. She went back into the kitchen. I turned around and walked out. Didn't say a word. Back in the car, I sat there with the engine running. It was 9:47 a.m. The pie was still warm. The wine bottle was sweating in the cold. My hands weren't shaking. I wasn't angry, not yet. I just felt displaced. Like someone had quietly moved my life an inch to the left and expected me not to notice. Out of habit, I opened the family group chat. The usual chaos from my cousins, pictures of kids opening gifts, blurry selfies with mimosas. Then Dave dropped his message. Thank God the depression is gone, LOL. I stared at it for a full minute. He knew what I went through last year. They all did. The 6 months I stopped sleeping. The ER visit. The time my manager had to physically walk me out of the office because I couldn't breathe. The text I sent when I was at my lowest. Every one of them saw those messages. And that was the joke. 3 people laughed at it. One of them was my mom. That's when something snapped. I opened my banking app. First thing to go, the auto transfer that covered my parents' electric bill. Then the scheduled payment to the caterer for Mom's birthday next month. Gone. The shared Google Drive I built and paid for, the one they all used to plan holidays, split costs, and organize trips. Deleted. All of it. Then I closed the credit line they used when their furnace went out last winter. The one in my name. The one I made payments on without telling them because it was family. At 10:11 a.m., the group chat blew up. Thomas? Where are you? Don't ignore us. Thomas, this is childish. Your mother is crying. No apology. No explanation. Just panic. Because their backup plan was driving away. I didn't reply. I put my phone in the glove compartment and drove to a diner 20 minutes away, ordered eggs I didn't eat, and sat there thinking. They still didn't know what I knew. Dave. His kids. The thing with the towel. His daughter flinching when he moved too fast. Aunt Meredith calling me sobbing, asking me to keep it in the family. Told me it was a bad day. That he didn't mean to hit her. That it wasn't even a hit, just a towel, just stress. She said reporting it would tear the family apart. But here's the thing. I'm not part of the family anymore. That's what they told me this morning. So I'm free. And the next move is mine. By the time I got back to the motel that afternoon, they tried calling 7 times. My sister twice. My mom once, right after Dave posted another passive-aggressive gem in the group chat. Hope everyone's enjoying the drama. Merry Christmas. Someone reacted with a heart. I didn't answer any of them. I ordered Chinese food and sat on the bed watching reruns of some baking competition show, not tasting a single bite. The whole time, I was thinking about that towel. It was 2 weeks ago. A Tuesday night. Aunt Meredith had called me out of nowhere, crying so hard she couldn't get a full sentence out. She said Dave had snapped. His youngest had spilled juice on his laptop. He'd been drinking. He grabbed a towel, swung it hard. It hit her arm, red mark almost instantly. Not the first time, she said. Not the worst. The older kid had started locking herself in her room at night. Meredith had found a dent in the drywall. Dave told her to shut up and keep the family out of it. That call ended with her begging me not to say anything. Please, Thomas, we'll handle it privately. You know how people are. It'll destroy everything. I said okay. I didn't want to make things worse. I actually believed it could stay quiet. That was before I saw him making jokes about my depression. Before I saw his smug face at my parents' table in the chair they pulled away from me. Before my own mother laughed along with him. So I filed the report. That night, I still had the screenshot of her texts describing everything. Still had the audio file from our call. I attached it all, filled out the form, signed it electronically, and submitted it to the Office of Child and Family Services. Took 10 minutes. The next morning, I woke up to chaos. 10 missed calls. Texts from my mom. Did you really do this? You need to stop before you ruin lives. This is serious, Thomas. You don't understand. No. I did understand. What I didn't understand was how they thought I'd just keep playing along while they erased me from the family like I was the problem. I was the one who paid their bills. The one who helped quietly from behind the scenes while Dave was shoving his kids into silence, and somehow still getting extra mashed potatoes at dinner. My mom tried calling again that evening. I didn't pick up. My sister texted me. Was that really necessary? I texted back 2 words. You started it. By the end of the day, I'd also unsubscribed from the college savings plan I'd been contributing to for my nephew. He was 7. I liked him. But he had a father who laughed about suicide now. Let him take care of it. Aunt Meredith called the next morning. I picked up. She asked if I'd reported it. I told her yes. She begged me not to talk to anyone else. I asked her why. She said she didn't want the family to fall apart. I told her it already had. I wasn't trying to destroy it. I was just tired of pretending it was still worth saving. They could keep their table. I had just flipped it over. 2 days after Christmas, a letter from Child Protective Services was delivered to Dave's house. It didn't even take a full 72 hours. That's what happens when you include photos, audio, and first-hand witness statements. I knew because I called to confirm they'd received everything. The woman on the phone didn't sound surprised. She just said, "We'll be in touch with the family shortly." Like it wasn't the first time someone had submitted something on Dave. I didn't feel bad. I didn't feel anything. On the same day, my mom posted a photo of the family around the Christmas tree. My seat, still missing, had been edited out entirely. Just an empty spot between my sister and the boyfriend, the arm of the couch conveniently cropped. Everyone was smiling. The caption read, "Blessed beyond measure." The real fireworks started that night. At 10:38 p.m., my phone blew up again. My sister texted first. "What the hell did you do?" Then Dave called. I let it ring out. He texted after. "You just ruined everything." I took a screenshot and replied, "No, Dave. You did." At midnight, Aunt Meredith called crying again. She said CPS showed up at her house because one of the kids had been staying there while Dave was cooling off. Apparently, he'd screamed at the caseworker. Claimed it was a misunderstanding. Tried to blame the bruise on horseplay. The older daughter didn't back him up. Meredith was terrified. Said the girl had asked if she was going to be taken away. I asked her if that seemed like something a kid says after horseplay. She didn't answer. The next day, my dad finally called. Not to apologize. Not to ask how I was. He opened with this. "You think this makes you a hero?" I laughed. Actually laughed out loud. I told him I wasn't trying to be anything. He went on a whole rant about how I'd embarrassed the family, how you don't air dirty laundry, and how Dave was under a lot of pressure. I asked him where that energy was when I was having panic attacks and nobody visited. When I was one text away from a bottle of pills and nobody even called. When I paid his property tax last year without a word. He went quiet for a moment. Then he said the words I knew were coming. "If you don't fix this, you're not welcome here anymore." I said, You already made that decision on Christmas morning. Then I hung up. That night, I wrote an email to the financial advisor I'd been using for years, the same one who helped me set up a trust fund for my parents, meant to kick in after they turned 70. I asked him to dissolve it. Transfer everything back. Stop all future planning related to their estate. And I told him exactly why. Because I'm done paying for people who treat me like a burden. Blood doesn't mean loyalty. He replied within the hour. Said he understood. The next morning, my mom texted me a photo. It was of the kitchen. My dad's medication was spread across the counter. Her message said, "We're going to lose everything. Is that what you want?" I didn't reply. Because she was wrong. They didn't lose everything. They just lost me. New Year's hit like a firecracker with no sound. I didn't even know it passed until I saw fireworks from a distance, tiny flashes over a frozen lake through the pine trees. I was staying in a one-room cabin on a patch of land deep in New Hampshire, near Lake Winnipesaukee. It didn't have Wi-Fi. It didn't have plumbing. It had a wood stove, a bed, and a shovel. That's what I wanted. No noise. No people. No family. I found the cabin through a guy I met at a gear shop last year. He used to be a firefighter, now lived off-grid and rented out cabins to people who wanted to vanish for a while. I paid in cash. No ID. No questions. When I told him I was just looking to disappear for a bit, he didn't even blink. For the first 3 days, I didn't touch my phone. I hiked for hours through the woods, climbed up frozen hills with snowshoes that gave me blisters, chopped firewood until my arms gave out. I lived off instant oatmeal and black coffee. I stopped thinking about the group chat. I stopped thinking about the empty chair at the table. I stopped thinking about how I used to be the one everyone called when things broke, when bills stacked up, when someone needed money that we'll pay back soon. By day 4, I was sleeping better than I had in years. No dreams. Just darkness. Day 5, the phone finally buzzed. Weak signal. 1 bar if I held it up to the window. It was Lily. She's the only cousin who ever seemed like she might have escaped the family programming. She was younger, quieter, didn't post passive-aggressive nonsense or kiss up to Dave. Her message was short. "Can we talk? Please." I called her. She picked up after 1 ring. "Hey," she said. "You're not going to want to hear from me, but I think you should." I listened. Snow was falling outside, the soft kind that makes snows sound. She told me everything. Dave had lost his job. CPS had visited twice. The oldest daughter had talked. Said there were other times. Plural. Said she'd seen her little sister get shoved into a wall during an argument over toothpaste. She described bruises. Screaming. Locking her door at night. They pulled both girls out of the house. Temporarily, but it wasn't looking good for Dave. The girls were staying with Lily and her girlfriend now. Safe, for the first time in what sounded like years. And the family? Imploding. And Meredith was on the edge of a breakdown. My sister had deactivated her Instagram after people started asking questions. My mom had apparently called CPS herself, trying to clarify some things. But it was too late. The investigation had momentum now. Then Lily said something that froze me more than the wind outside. "They're all blaming you. Not Dave. Not Meredith. Not the years of silence. Me." "Unbelievable," I said. "No," she said. "It's exactly what I expected. But here's why I'm calling. Your mom told Grandma you closed the trust. And Dad overheard. Now everyone's freaking out. They're saying you've ruined the family, financially." I almost laughed. The same people who sat around the table without me? Who told me I wasn't close family, while handing my seat to a guy they barely knew. Now they wanted me to come back and rescue them. Lily was quiet for a bit. Then she said, "They're scared of you now." It was a strange thing to hear. But I understood what she meant. I was no longer the quiet son who wrote checks and kept the peace. I'd become the one person they couldn't control. I had money. I had information. And I was done being useful to people who saw me as disposable. I didn't say much else. Just told her I was fine. That I appreciated her looking after the girls. Before she hung up, she said, "They're going to try and get to you. Don't let them." That night, I sat by the fire, staring at the flames, and finally let the anger move through me without restraint. For the first time in my life, I wasn't trying to fix anyone else's mess. I wasn't the family's safety net. I wasn't their donor, their problem solver, their emotional landfill. I was free. But freedom isn't quiet. It isn't clean. It was time to go back. Not to ask for my seat at the table, but to remind them who pulled it out in the first place. I didn't tell anyone I was coming back. No warning, no dramatic message. Just packed my gear, left the cabin before sunrise, and made the 5-hour drive straight through. I didn't stop for food. Didn't play music. Just silence and snow, and one final decision growing heavier by the mile. I didn't go home. I went to Dave's. His house sat in one of those new developments where all the mailboxes match and the neighbors wave like they care. The driveway was empty. No cars. No movement inside. CPS had already done their job. I walked around back, phone in hand, snapped a few photos of the side gate that didn't lock, the broken swing set with the cracked seat, the garbage bags stacked beside the garage like no one cared anymore. Just documentation. Then I drove straight to the courthouse and asked for the records office. The lady behind the glass window barely looked at me when I handed her the request. I gave her my ID and a case number I'd gotten from Lily. I requested copies of everything: the investigation summary, the family statements, the incident photos, anything public. Anything real. Then I waited. While I sat in that ugly vinyl chair under flickering fluorescent lights, I thought about all the money I'd handed over through the years. Quietly. Without a second thought. Birthdays. Car repairs. Rent. Groceries. Even a private tutor for my nephew when my sister said he was falling behind. I paid for that too. And now, I had leverage. By the time I got to my parents' place, the sun was setting. The house looked exactly the same. My dad's truck was out front. The porch light was on. I knocked once and walked in. Still had a key. They were both in the kitchen. My mom froze when she saw me. My dad looked like he'd swallowed a nail. I didn't sit. I set a manila folder on the table. The top page had Dave's name in bold, followed by the phrase, "Ongoing child welfare investigation." My mom opened it. Scanned a few lines. I waited. "This isn't fair," she said. "You didn't have to do this." "He did," I said. "He just didn't expect someone would finally say something." My dad started to speak, but I cut him off. "You told me I wasn't family. That I wasn't welcome. So here's how it's going to be." I listed everything I'd pulled. No more payments. No more emergency transfers. No more contributions to birthdays, holidays, bills, or plans. The trust? Gone. The fallback fund I built for them in case of a medical emergency? Closed. And I explained why. In detail. Because family isn't who you share blood with. It's who shows up when it matters. And when I was on the floor, at my lowest, none of them did. They made jokes. Took pictures. Moved on. And when I got back up, they weren't ready for what I'd bring with me. My mom cried. My dad didn't say anything. I walked out and didn't look back. That night, Lily sent me a video. The girls laughing, baking cookies in her kitchen. They looked safe. Happy. Free. And for the first time in months, I felt like maybe I'd done something right. But it wasn't over. Not yet. 3 weeks passed. 3 quiet weeks. No messages from my mom. No calls from my sister. Dave vanished from every platform. His podcast gone. His real estate bio taken down. Nothing from him except silence, and I could only imagine how that silence felt with 2 kids no longer under his roof and the whole family too spineless to say his name out loud. I stayed in Boston, worked, ate better, slept through the night. I got my life back, piece by piece, and kept thinking maybe that was the end of it. Maybe they'd just stay broken, and I'd finally get to be done. But families like mine don't go out quietly. One night, a call came in from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Then another. Then a third. I finally answered the 4th. It was my mom. Not angry. Not bitter. Just tired. She said they wanted to talk. Said they were all getting together, yes, all of them, and she wanted me there. She said something that stuck. We didn't know how bad things had gotten. We didn't want to know. That's when I realized they weren't sorry for what they did. They were sorry they couldn't hide it anymore. Still, I went. I didn't go for them. I went for the girls. For Lily. For myself, maybe. The meeting was at my Aunt Meredith's house. I walked in and all eyes were on me. The ones who used to whisper now stared. The ones who used to laugh looked down. Dave wasn't there. I heard he'd moved in with a friend across town. He'd been ordered to attend parenting classes. Supervised visits only. His ex had filed for full custody. Quietly, of course. To avoid embarrassment. I let them speak first. My dad started to talk but stopped. My sister apologized. For the seat, for the message, for letting things go the way they did. It didn't sound rehearsed. It sounded exhausted. Like she'd been sitting with guilt and didn't know where to put it. Even Meredith spoke. She admitted she knew about Dave for years. She cried, called herself a coward. I didn't interrupt her. They asked what I wanted. What it would take to fix this. I told them I wasn't interested in fixing anything. I said I'd made peace with walking away. That I had no intention of resuming what we had. That I was willing to forgive, but not forget. And definitely not fund. They asked if that meant I'd never be at the table again. I said I'd come if I was invited. But I wouldn't bring gifts. I wouldn't write checks. And if they ever again tried to bury a problem instead of facing it, I'd be the one dragging it into the light. They nodded. The girls stayed with Lily for good. Dave never came near them again. And slowly, awkwardly, things settled. Not healed. Just settled. Now I show up for birthdays. I sit at the end of the table again. No gifts. No payments. Just me. They don't ask me for help anymore. But they say thank you when I pass the salt. So I thought things were over. Not healed, not perfect, just done. Everyone had said their piece. I made it clear I wasn't funding anyone's life anymore, and honestly, I was okay with that awkward balance. I'd go to birthdays, show up empty-handed, nod politely, leave early. I was fine being the guy they felt guilty around. Whatever. Then I got a letter. A real one. In the mail. No return address, just my name and my Boston address written in neat handwriting I didn't recognize. Postmarked 2 towns over from where my parents live. Inside was a single piece of paper. No greeting. No signature. Just this. Check your dad's accounts. He's not as broke as he says. Ask about the renovation fund. Start with the wire from March 18th, 2023. I read it 5 times. I hadn't touched my dad's accounts since I shut everything down. But when I was managing their bills, I had full access. He never changed the passwords. So yeah, I checked. And it was all there. A $14,000 wire from one of my old credit lines, one that should have been closed months ago, sent directly to an account under his name. Labeled, Home Renovation. March 18th. 3 months after I helped pay off their furnace. 2 months before he told me he couldn't afford groceries. And the best part? He hadn't used it for the house. Not $1. The account was active. Sitting there. Almost untouched. I checked the balance, $13,512. So while I was skipping meals to keep them afloat, while I was paying off their overdue electric bill, my dad was stashing thousands in a side account. For what? In case his disappointment of a son ever stopped playing bank? I didn't say anything. Not right away. I made a copy of the transaction history. Highlighted the wire. Printed it out. Then I waited for the next family dinner. And I brought a gift. Just one. A framed copy of the wire transfer. No note. No explanation. I handed it to him in front of everyone and said, "Thought you might want this for your records." You should have seen his face. He didn't say a word. Just sat there holding it like it might catch fire. No one else spoke either. My mom looked like she wanted the floor to swallow her whole. And I just sat down. Ate my dinner. Left without dessert. They haven't invited me since,